Well, good evening.
Good evening. How are you all?
I'm just excited to be here.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, is everybody about to return back to normal at school?
Oh, we're
Yes,
back. We're
we
back.
started Monday.
Started Monday.
Well, we started last Thursday and Friday,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. And thing about it is, after the kids get a day or two off, they act like they don't know anything. They forgot everything. They forgot their manners, how to behave. It's just like starting all over again. First day of school.
Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
They just been struck dumb.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, I know. I know. Uh, that's the thing, especially when I was principal at Eastway Junior High back in the way back when it was really, really rough, gangs and and you'd get these teachers in and for interviews and you try to explain to them that every day is going to be like the first day. They're never going to be like puppies and roll over and let you tickle their bellies. You have to win every day. And that was 35 years ago. You had to win every day. I'm afraid that we've entered that time again where you have to win every day. There, you can't pick up where you left off yesterday. Um, and part of it is screens. I read a wonderful article this week that talked about the dimensions of a child's life. It used to be home, school, and neighborhood. Now it's home, school, screen. There is no neighborhood piece. That was a wonderful uh, psychologist wrote this article about that. And because of the screen, they have short-term memory because screens are all about short-term memory. You don't learn how to build relationships. You don't learn how to deal with people. You don't learn a lot of the things that you learned problem solving when you were out in the neighborhood with other kids. You don't learn any of that now. It's all quick and it's very short term. And so, you have a snow day, something that disrupts the normal schedule. There ain't any. We'll just resume where we were last week. That's not happening. Not going to happen. It's amazing to me that we don't understand that screens aren't inherently bad and content isn't inherently bad, but it really causes kids not to be able to focus for long periods of time. I have a friend who's a curriculum person, and he's developed a new learning system, and we talked about it last night. And he did it from a systems perspective, which is signal, noise, and load. Signal's the good stuff. What you want kids to learn. Noise is other stuff that don't really matter. Kind of like when you were a kid and you asked if this was going to be on the test, you were trying to determine signal from noise. That's what you were doing. And those together are your cognitive load. And he's approaching it from how to, because their attention span and their cognitive load is so small now because their attention span and their memory is so short, they don't have much capacity for many things at one time. And so what he's trying to do is get school systems to understand that you've got to just give them the good stuff, and that's it. You can't give them all the attendance stuff that goes with it and all that. But the problem that I see with that is there's no synthesis or evaluation, no higher level thinking because you're just giving them, only what they need. You're not drawing it out and making the connections. But he's like he said, he's trying to teach them how to get kids to pass proficiency on end of course tests in high school. And so what they're having to do is trying to, separate signal from noise, the content from the not content so that the limited cognitive load that students have because of attention and memory that they can still take the test and do better. It's what he's trying to do. Sounds pretty interesting, but it fits the students of the day. Thank you all for joining me. I see it's about 7:03. We probably got who we're going to have, and I appreciate you being with me tonight. All right, so I will share my screen and we'll see that Kendrick and Danielle present tonight, chapters 3 through 6. Looking at our overall schedule, tonight is uh, the 10th. The next time that we will be together is weekend 2 in Charlotte, is when we will be together again. And so we'll need to get our biscuit order together. Um, Remind me to send that out um, later tonight or tomorrow for next weekend, which is the 21st Saturday in Charlotte. I read all of your submissions. Let me go back. I'm very pleased with those. You're doing a good job with all of your submissions. I normally do a star of the week, but I think I'm going to save that for our time together and we'll go over those things. I'm always cognizant of our time. And so, without further ado, we're going to dive in on chapter 3. And so, I will stop my video and allow the screen share, and we'll get started tonight. And so, let me share my screen. Let me do my screen share here. And so, okay, so Kendrick is not on yet, or if he's not coming, so we'll move to Danielle with chapters 5 and 6. That's pretty simple. There we go. We had you for a second there, Danielle.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, but your
Okay.
share went away.
Okay, let me try sharing again.
You're off mute now.
All right, let me share. All right. Are you able to see it now?
It's coming, but it's not here yet. There it comes. There it is. You're
I'm
there.
trying to put it in from beginning.
Ah,
Hopefully you all can see it.
nope, it's blurred. We
I
have
don't know.
no. I know
I
I'm
don't know
old and my
what's going
eyes
on
are
with this
bad, but
thing.
they're not that bad.
Are
Just
you able to see
there
it
you
now?
go.
All right. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. I'm Danielle Howard. I will be presenting chapter 5 and chapter 6, supervision and instructional leadership. This chapter mostly talks about the importance of understanding our beliefs and how our beliefs show up in our supervisory daily basis behavior. Um, my internet is moving slow. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the first chapter 5, it talks about, I pulled out 3 points about the core ideas, which one was belief shaped supervisory actions, and then reflection aligns beliefs and practice, and then leadership beliefs influence the school culture. So all of these beliefs and how we think about how we believe in everything, it comes from our teaching when we used to be teachers to now as we be in supervision of our school as leaders within our school, assistant principals or principals, whatever role that you play in your school. All of this molds and shape the belief of our leadership decisions in the every daily basis. And in this chapter, the author really stresses that we
Niña,
believe
todo
about
está muy calentón.
really stresses the belief about believing about teaching, learning, and how we're growing with our directly influence with our colleagues in an everyday basis. And I just put this graphic here just to show about it really shapes your school culture. So we deal with a lot. We deal with different conflicts. You deal with the trust. You deal with students. You see which ones are mostly getting big. You have those teachers that want to gossip, but we also have to reflect in our beliefs to make sure we don't entertain those type of things so that we can keep a positive school culture going. Here it talks about the beliefs and practice and cultures. So beliefs are about teaching and supervision, and that leads to what we believe and what we are teaching when we're doing our supervision and how we're holding people accountable, how we are making sure that we're collaborating with them and making sure that what we believe, I always like to say, inspect what you expect. So we got to make sure our behavior is right before we can correct someone else's behavior, because if they seeing us over here or in the hallway talking about something, they're gonna feel like it's okay to do the same thing with their colleagues. That's why we always got to be mindful where we at, who we're around, because you have those ones that's gonna look at your behavior and be like, well, they believe that they could do it, then we could do it as well. And that goes into leader behavior. And so, as I was saying, it leads into your school culture, which also leads off of school culture and instruction. And with that instruction, if they see that you're coming late, if they see that you're not meeting your demands for the district, if they see this, they're gonna feel like, okay, well, I don't have to turn in my lesson plan on time. I heard that the principal didn't have her stuff. And all of that shapes our culture when we're in a school setting, because there's so many different points and there's so many people talking and nagging and nagging. So we always have to be mindful of our behaviors, our beliefs, to make sure we're inspecting what we expect from our colleagues and our employees and teachers. Why does it all matter? So it all matters because our unexamined beliefs are driven by our decisions that we make. As leaders, we have to make sure we're being reflective and making sure we're supporting the teachers with their growth. Not only that, but our belief practice have to align with the strengths of the school. So what are we needing? So this school that I'm at may need strength and instruction. So what are my beliefs about instruction? How I'm going to make sure that I'm making sure I have a positive school culture, making sure that I'm being reflective. I'm supporting my BT teachers. I'm supporting my international teachers, but also making an unexamined and examine the beliefs by making sure I'm making the right decision with the team and we're collaborating so that we can always, because if you have a poor school culture, your instruction gonna fall because the teachers don't not gonna want to come. They're not going to want to teach the kids. And it's all about making sure that our students getting what they need each and every day that they walk into our building. And I just did a couple of personal takeaways. I realized that my belief about teaching and learning directly influence how I respond to teachers, even when I'm not constantly aware of it. So that right there shows me working on my facials when I'm like, what in the world? Like, you just had a snow break. Like, you're coming in here saying you're tired. Like, we've been out for so many weeks and you didn't even have to teach your own Zoom. So it's just like, okay, facials and body language. So making sure I'm being accountable of that. And this also chapter pushed me to examine whether my actions truly reflect what I believe about teacher growth and professional autonomy. So making sure, like, what I believe is making sure, do my teachers really need this, or I'm just throwing this at them because this is what they say that they just need, and I'm just going to throw a professional development there, or I'm just going to do this just because, and just becoming aware of my unexamined beliefs and can limit teachers even when the intention is to be supportive. So just making sure I'm examining myself in all areas to make sure that I have the personal and positive beliefs, make sure I'm practicing my beliefs, is also implemented in my daily practices. Just some takeaways. Effective instructional leaders must intentionally reflect on our beliefs about teaching, learning, and supervision. Instructional leadership is less about control and more about creating the conditions for teacher growth through belief-driven practices. Also, leaders who fail to reflect risk acting inconsistently, which can undermine trust in school culture. So we don't want to be that leader where we're not reflecting like, okay, I should have said this way, or maybe I could have rewarded my email this way, or maybe I could have did this in my ILT meeting with my team. I'm gonna pause before chapter 6. Are there any questions?
No,
Everybody's good?
we're good.
Okay, awesome. So it's the same format as I did in chapter 5. Chapter 6 is discussing more about supervision and the behaviors of the of your supervision. Is this no single style fits all teachers, so we always have to remember that everybody's not going to teach the same way. They want to give you a curriculum for your school, and they want everybody to teach this curriculum. When they go in everybody's room, they want everybody to do the same thing. They want everybody to be saying that is not how it is in this day and time. Everybody teaching style is different. I'm a visual learner, so I like to see, I like to be hands on. You have some teachers just can talk, but they have to, but the students are getting it. So you have those different teaching styles for to just to make sure that no single style fits all teachers. Um, Here's the behavior continuums where non-directive, collaborative, directive, informational, and then directive control. And this talks about, excuse me, highlights the importance of how we have to reinforce our instructional leadership styles and to ensure we're making sure not being non-directive, but we're making sure we're collaborative, but making sure that we're giving the important information directly to our staff and parents and students all in one as well. And why it matters, because it recognizes the blind spots that may be happening, make adaptation to needs of teachers, and knowing your supervisory styles. So pretty much making sure we're looking at all of these in accountability when we're looking at those behaviors continuums, that we have to also reflect. It takes it back to chapter 5, where you still have to reflect on your behavior, because your behavior, when you point out and giving and going into your building day, you can miss something because that was a blind spot that may have happened and you didn't see it. So every day I try to reflect, okay, what did I notice? What did I see? How can I make tomorrow better for myself, for my teachers, for my students? Because I may have missed something. Just a couple takeaways. I learned that self-awareness is critical because blind spots can limit my effectiveness as a leader. That's one of the important things that when I was reading this chapter about self-awareness, and sometimes we don't reflect on our own self-awareness and what we need to ensure that we take accountability of. And it helped me realize that good intentions are not enough. How supervision is preserved matters as much as what is intended. Just some couple a very important leadership takeaway was effective instructional leaders must be intentional in selecting supervisory behaviors based on teacher readiness, confidence, and context. So this really shows that you have to know your teachers. You can't just say, I'm doing an observation and then this is what they're getting. You really have to make sure you're building those relationships to really know. And when you're giving an observation, where you can also build their confidence, but also give them that directive of this is the next step that you need to help. So one thing I have been learning as an admin is every morning I try my best to go to each classroom after I finish bus duty and speak to each and every one of my teachers. And they'll know, like, if I have an AP meeting, I come back the next day. They was like, Howard, you wasn't here yesterday. And they know that because I'm walking around. So when I get ready to give them feedback, they're not like, oh, I don't receive that feedback, because they already are aware of, okay, she's building relationships. She gives me confidence. She shows me in context what I need to do. She gives me real time feedback. If they're teaching, I can write, okay, it's a good time to do a turn and talk. So that real time feedback when they're also teaching, to just continue to build that effective supervisory behaviors.
All right,
Are
very
there any
good.
questions?
Mm. All right, let's
And
go back here. All right, and so I have a number of points that I want to make.
mhm.
Um, I'm looking for something right here. I'll be. We'll get to that later. All right, let me get back to y'all. All right, I want to make a number of points. All right, the first point I want to make is what is maturity? What is readiness? All right, that circles back to situational leadership. And that's what Danielle was referring to in chapter 6. Your supervisory behavior is dependent upon the maturity or readiness of the follower. We actually, not we, but Hershey and Blanchard actually charted it in their seminal work on situational leadership. We've kind of moved on from situational to transformational, but situational is still the basis for transformational leadership. Hershey and Blanchard, situational leadership. And they had a third fellow that worked with them. His name was Keelty, and he talked about maturity. We now call it readiness. Sometimes you see those terms used interchangeably. But they were the first folks who came along in the 80s who said, your your behavior as a leader must vary according to the maturity of the follower or their readiness. Um, and they actually charted the four dimensions high. They talked about task and relationship behaviors. Task behaviors are get the job done. Relationship, how you doing today? And that you had to vary your task and relationship behaviors based on not your personal style, but on who? The maturity of your follower. That was groundbreaking. Up until that time, leadership had only talked about leadership behaviors. And now all of a sudden they said, wait a minute, these might be leadership behaviors, but they need to be applied to varying degrees of task and relationship based on the maturity of the follower. Not you, what you like to do, but what they need. Wow. That was life changing. And it still is today. You've got to understand as a school leader you don't teach a soul, but you can have a lot of impact on the people who do, and they are what's important in the equation. You have to put your ego aside. You can't do what you like to do or what's best for you. You have to do what's best for them because you'll get a return 25-fold with those 25 kids sitting in that room. That's the trick right there. It's what they need, not what you want to do. Now, I'm still with you. Part of this too is you have to identify your HIDE, HIDE. We've talked about this before. As a high school principal, I hung out in the cafeteria, the gym, ball field. That was my HIDE to deal with, to avoid the things that I didn't want to deal with. I had somebody else to do it. You can't do that. Some people hide in classrooms rather than deal with the things that they need to deal with. And so she also mentioned in chapter 5 and into chapter 6 that you've got to be responsive to the needs of your building. You've got to be responsive to those. You can't hide in the places where, you're just counting time. You had a busy day, but you didn't really address the things you needed to. And again, it's not about you, it's about them. How do we create a culture of teaching and learning? How do we create a culture of teaching and learning? We have to know what the currency is in our building, what's important in our building, and we have to set that. If teaching and learning is important in your building, then you have to portray that every day. That has to be the currency. The easiest goes back to the old Mills program when we talked about the 5 stages of teacher leadership. Teach others, be involved with school improvement team, be involved with hiring, all those different things. The currency in your building has to be great teaching. That has to be the currency. And if that's the case, who should be holding all those teacher leadership positions in your building? Think about that one for a minute. Who should be on your media adoption committee? Who should be on your school improvement team? Who should be on your personnel hiring team? Who should be on your professional development team? Who should be your PLC leads? What characteristics must they all share? They must be your best teachers. That way, what's valued in your building or currency is good teaching. That's the key to building a culture of teaching and learning in your building, is that we value, we recognize, we reward great teaching. And that's our goal every day. What do they do at Jones Sausage? What's their core competency? They make sausage. What do we do in schools? We teach kids. That has to be our core competency. That has to be the currency in our building if we want to create a culture of teaching and learning. Now, still with you. Danielle, how long you been AP?
AP since 2024.
Okay, a couple years.
January be my second year. Yeah, during the 16th
All
this
right.
year.
All right. I've got some advice for you.
Yes, sir.
You must become more intentional in your walkthrough routine. I wish I was smart enough to figure this out when I was principal, but I wasn't. But I worked in a different time.
Mm-hmm.
What does every teacher have with them every minute of every day now?
Their phone.
Phone. Robin Hamilton figured this out, her and Romy, when she was at Parsley. It became Masonboro down in Wilmington. She figured this out. When she started out of the office every day at the same time and took the same path, what did the teachers know? Where she was coming, what room, what order they were going to be in, and what would they do immediately? Text. And they knew when she was coming, what hall they were on. And she said it was amazing. When she went in the room, they were all up and teaching and lesson plan, and everything was just happening just like it was supposed to. Every time she went in, she said, just by chance, you'd think one time you'd walk in, they'd be in a transition or moving from one. Nope. They always had a lesson going every time she walked in the door. And it was just, and she said, something's wrong here. And her and Romy finally kind of snuck around and figured it out. The teachers were texting her path every day. And they knew to the minute what times that she was going to be in their room. You think that influenced their behavior? Now, Robin tells the story on herself. So what Robin had to do was basically get a chart, build a graphic organizer. And what she figured out was don't start on the same path every day. Don't start at the same time every day. And don't follow the same order every time you go. And she developed like 10 or 12 different paths, I think 10 over a 2-week period. She'd take a different route, start at a different time and visit the rooms. And then all of a sudden, she said, it was just like night and day. I didn't see that great teaching every moment every time I walked into a classroom then, because they didn't know I was coming. And then pretty soon they got the message that she can come at any time. And all of a sudden, overnight, the culture of the building changed. Overnight, almost. And they got the message, you need to be teaching all day, every day. She may pop in at any time. We can't be planned and prepared for her now. Back in the 80s, 1984, the basic ed plan was passed. Somebody said, what is a basic education? A standard course of study. Y'all have seen them old white notebooks, probably some of them still around, for every course and every grade. And then somebody said, we need some kind of accountability system. So we started a career development pilot program in the 1980s. It lasted through about 1990 or 91. where we were differentiating pay for teachers. We had 3 levels. We were going to try to do that. And a lot of it was based on evaluations. For the first time ever, not only were we evaluating teachers on the 6-point lesson plan, but we were also, it was about their pay. So you better believe that when you went to the room, they were ready to go. And so it wasn't just the principal. You had state trained evaluators from the district that came in. But the problem with it was you told them when they were coming. And as soon as we figured out that wasn't the right thing to do, the program crashed and burned for lack of resources. But that was one of the things that we learned during that time is if they know you're coming, they're going to do one of 3 things. If they know you're coming, they're going to prompt, and you can tell if a person is an optimist, the teacher is an optimist, a pessimist, or a realist by which of these 3 routes they take. If they know you're coming that day to evaluate their class, the optimist teacher will promise their kids a reward if they'll behave while they're being observed. The pessimist teacher will threaten their kids with a punishment if they don't behave when you're in the room. And the realist teacher will do both. They'll threaten, they'll promise them something, a reward, and threaten them with their life if they don't behave. Again, it goes back to that if they know you're coming, you're going to see something different than you would see if they don't know you're coming. You need to make sure that understand that people are watching you for your observation route. But as Danielle said, they're watching you for what you do as well and what you value. If you use seniority, time, rather than talent to staff all of your teacher leadership positions, you will not build a culture of teaching and learning in your building. Because what is valued then and what the culture is just longevity and not talent and not good teaching. You will never build a culture of teaching and learning if all you reward is longevity. It has to be about talent and not time. Those are some basic things that you learn in basic supervision that you must understand. I think I think I've covered everything. I could go much more in depth, but I won't. I don't want to take time that we don't need the time. Again, be intentional about the route that you take every day supervising teachers. Understand what your own proclivities are in terms of where you would prefer to hide and not deal with the more unpleasant duties of the job. And remember that in situational leadership, what really is important is not the application of task and relationship behaviors on your part, but the maturity level of your follower, of the teacher, so that it's about them and not about you and what they need. All right. I don't think Kendrick made it tonight. He had the other 2 chapters. I could cover them, but I won't. I will cover them at a later date. I don't ever like to take time that we don't need to. All right, so we got done early tonight. So let's look at our schedule. Let me share my screen right quick, and we'll do that as we always do as we close out our evening.
Dr. Lamb,
Yes,
I will not be there in attendance. Do I need to send you an email? But I seen what the work will be done. Can I go ahead and do the work ahead of time? We're reading the
sure.
articles and doing the one-page paper.
Yep,
Okay,
that'd be great.
thank you.
And
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Lamb, I just wanted to add on Mr. Cherry's behalf. He shared that he wasn't going to ask me to share. He wouldn't be able to do one tonight, but that he would reach out to you in regards to tonight's presentation.
I don't know that I heard all of that, but he wasn't going to be able to attend.
Yes, sir. He had a lot
So
of
he's so we're I was
yeah.
going to firing off an email, make sure he's okay. So that's just all I need to know. He's not stuck in a ditch somewhere. That's good. That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So again, tonight was the 10th. The next time that I will see you is on the 21st, Saturday in Charlotte. If you can't make that weekend, make sure you email me so that we can set aside plans for the makeup on that. Because those are required weekends. I will get the biscuit order out. We'll have biscuits again. We've already done biscuits, so I guess we need to get a lunch order maybe this time for Saturday. I think we'll do a lunch order. So I'll write myself a note, send the lunch order. And so I use Jason's Deli. They'll deliver. So I will send you the lunch order for this weekend. And then the last weekend, we normally do potluck with a theme. All right. Anybody else have anything for the good of the group tonight? We know our next time together is on the 21st in Charlotte. All right. Keep on keeping on. Pace yourself. Keep up with your work. Make sure you get it all in. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the 21st. I will send out the lunch order for the 21st for that Saturday. Everybody stay safe and enjoy your time back in school. I know you're having the time of your lives after the snow days. It's good to see everybody tonight. Thank you.